Chatham Pediatric Dentistry didn't start out as the industry-defining giant it would eventually become. Its origins are shrouded in the mists of time, but one thing is clear. It was a shared interest in the musical arts that helped cement the collaboration between Alexandra Boudreau and Kevin Ricker.
I think I first saw Kevin at the Viper Room in '79. It was a double bill with Germs and Black Flag, and Kevin was coming back after walking away from a funk period. He was performing with a group, I think, called Blood Maggot.
Yeah, I was looking to explore some new musical spaces after my time with Sly and the Family Stone. I remember at that show I picked Alex out in the crowd. We made a pure artistic connection. I met her at the merch table after the show. She invited me to hear some of the demos she'd been working on with some of Dylan's backing band from Blood on the Tracks.
This meeting would never take place. Although a mutual admiration had been established, the listening public is fickle. Opinions were changing, and our heroes had to change with the times. Years later, Doctors Alex and Kevin would find themselves reconnecting when both independently worked on duets with superstar David Bowie.
Can't say no to David. He's a consummate professional.
I've been working on and off with David for years. When I first met him, he was working through Space Oddity, and he kept saying, "Ground control to Sergeant Steve. Ground control to Sergeant Steve." And I was like, "Dave, Steve is not working. How about Tom?"
Kev had come up with some alternate lyrics for a song of David's, and I came in and tweaked it a little bit. I just suggested that if you're changing the name to Tom, you might as well change his rank to Major. Next thing you know, Dave's crushing another history-making single.
I mean, I still think Sergeant Steve sounds better.
The 80s were in full swing. Now working as a team, the two young musicians briefly took up working as part of Lionel Richie's creative design team, culminating in the music video for Hello.
It was our first formal collaboration, and I think that even the most dubious critic would call it a success.
I mean, we're still getting paid royalties for that video. Lots of royalties.
This time was not without challenges. Both were cut from a vocal supergroup early in its tenure.
We'd been working in Boston off and on, singing with a few guys when we got off work. Next thing you know, we're opening for Tiffany and Debbie Gibson.
But, we were cut as soon as the record deal started coming in. According to Columbia Records, we weren't in sync with the rest of the group artistically.
Why'd we leave Color Me Bad? We're not allowed to talk about it because of the non-disclosure. But let's just say I wasn't willing to make artistic compromises, particularly with regard to growing a mustache.
In sync? Oh, that was a cop thing. I mean, technically, the band's manager threatened to press charges for harassment. Not like creepy harassment, but we were right there with JT, and so we'd ask him for his autograph. Every time. 400 or 500 times a day. And I'll tell you what, technically, yes, harassment, but I would do it again if we had the chance.
After similar experiences forming and then being cut from vocal groups like Color Me Bad, In Sync, and Backstreet Boys, they decided to apply to dental school.
Backstreet Boys? We were in the Backstreet Boys? I'm sorry, we were in a lot of bands.
Disillusioned with the music industry, Alex enrolled in the University of North Carolina School of Dentistry. It was a rare chance to combine her artistic interests with her alarming academic acumen.
It wasn't a difficult transition. I'd finished my zoology degree at North Carolina State University, summa cum laude. So dental school was a cakewalk. Can't overstate it. It was as natural for me as breathing.
Kevin followed 2 years later. He had tried and failed to find success in the world of competitive eating, and he decided to follow his longtime collaborator into dental school.
Well, dental school was a challenge for me. I mean, I'm just a professional, right? I'm a perfectionist when it comes to all the things that make dentistry so unique. Personal grooming, photoshopping, vintage rock photographs to include people you currently work with, staying fit. These are areas where I excel, but these are areas that all require 110% effort. I started doing the math. You can only give 110% so many times for now it's 220, now it's 330, 440% even. I mean, how can I keep up? Still, we managed to make it work.
The accolades began to accumulate. Awards with titles like Needs Improvement and C+ were being thrown around routinely. It was clear that our heroes were headed for stardom. They elected to become specialists in pediatric dentistry, staying at UNC for their specialty training.
I considered the alternatives, Princeton, MIT, etc., after realizing those universities didn't have dental schools, let alone specialty training in pediatric dentistry. I put UNC at the top of my list.
Well, for me, honestly, I just got lost. There's only one dental school at UNC, but it's made of a bunch of different buildings, and you can't really tell where one stops and another one starts. It's in one building, you're in the third floor, and even though you never went up a set of stairs or out a door, now you're in a different building on the second floor. By the time I found my way outside to sunlight, I picked up a master's in pediatric dentistry and I published a paper.
Now specialists, our doctors began to search out a location. They settled on a vast expanse of central North Carolina that had been shunned by other pediatric dentists, who often claimed that these rolling hills and dark forests were haunted by spirits. Undaunted, they staked their claim in the center of this wild place and built what would become the most important pediatric dental practice in the history of important pediatric dental practices.
I'm pretty happy with where we ended up. Don't get me wrong, I love the crazy journey I took, but I'm glad to get a chance to help take care of kids in my community.
I wish I still was in the Backstreet Boys. AJ McLean still owes me $20 from a bet we made in 1997.
No regrets.
I feel like I have a lot of regrets. $20? Come on.
The work at Chatham Pediatric Dentistry continues. You can be confident in our doctors. They've seen it all, from David Lee Roth's dressing room to the secret basement below the Pentagon. They're ready to help you with your children's teeth. Call 919-391-3813 to schedule an appointment today.